Ahoy, mateys!
Pop open a can of spinach because the legendary Popeye the Sailor Man is finally free. That's right, it's January 1st, 2025, and it's Public Domain Day. At the start of every year, works of literature, music, comics, film, and more shed their copyright protections and enter the public domain, where they belong to everyone. In the United States, this currently happens 95 years after a work's original publication, at which time it becomes free for anyone to adapt, remix, or transform, even for commercial purposes. From Shakespeare's Hamlet to the Brothers Grimm's Cinderella, the public domain has fueled creativity for generations. Some of your favorite characters and stories only happened because artists and creators took classic works and gave them a new spin. This year, Public Domain Day brings us a dazzling array of properties. It's a banner year featuring some of the most influential figures in popular culture. Today, let's take a closer look at 5 of the most exciting additions to the public's ever-growing collection. Number 1, Popeye the Sailor. First appearing in E.C. Seeger's Thimble Theater comic strip in 1929, Popeye quickly became the star of the series and a cultural icon. Before his arrival, the newspaper comic centered around the Oil family, namely Olive and her brother Castor, along with Olive's boyfriend Ham. But when Popeye was introduced as a minor character, it wasn't long before he stole the spotlight with his distinctive personality, grit, and humor. In this debut story arc, Castor and Ham are planning an expedition to a place called Dice Island. They've hatched a scheme to get rich quick by outsmarting a gambling tycoon named Fadewell, who runs a casino there. To pull off their plan, they decide they need a capable sailor to handle their boat and guide them on their journey. This is where Popeye enters the story. A tough, gruff, and rough seaman with a trademark squint and unshakable confidence, his raw strength, street smarts, resourcefulness, and loyalty, along with his brusque dialogue and quick temper, captured the hearts of readers everywhere. By the time the storyline wrapped, Popeye had effectively taken over the comic, relegating Castor, Ham, and even Olive Oil to supporting roles. Now keep in mind, only works from this 1929 original iteration of the character have actually entered the public domain. Details and characteristics of his later stories are still under copyright. Prime example, his whole spinach shtick, which came years after his debut. Before that, he managed to survive his scrapes by rubbing the head of a wiffle hen. So there's that. Want to pick up Popeye and give the character a go? Have at it. Why not go back to the basics and give him a gritty Depression-era adventure, or a modern sea voyage? Check out the series' expanded cast and create new original adventures? Or, I guess, keep making low-budget horror spin-offs that honor basically nothing from the source material and only function as cheap cash-ins? You do you. Number 2, Buck Rogers in the 25th century. Before Star Wars, there was Flash Gordon, and before Flash, there was Buck. First appearing in the novella Armageddon 2419 AD, Anthony Buck Rogers, a World War I veteran, falls into suspended animation and awakens 500 years later in a dystopian 25th century. The world is in ruins, and Buck must help a group of rebels fight against a tyrannical regime. Sound familiar? With ray guns, rocket ships, and futuristic gadgets, the story laid the foundation for pretty much every modern sci-fi adventure that you can think of. But perhaps his most famous iteration comes not from the book, but the iconic 1929 newspaper comic strip. Buck Rogers in the 25th century AD was the first serialized science fiction comic in history. It ran for decades and was a key part of Buck Rogers' cultural rise to prominence, introducing mainstream audiences to serialized storylines that featured elaborate futuristic battles, daring rescues, and explorations of strange new worlds, with Buck and his allies constantly facing new challenges. At a time when most comics focused on humor or simple adventure tales, Buck broke the mold, and now the foundation of this beloved franchise is ready to act as a launchpad for your adventures. Number 3, Tintin. 1929's The Adventures of Tintin in the Land of the Soviets introduced the now classic boy reporter and his loyal dog Snowy as they traveled to Soviet Russia to expose political corruption. In the original story, Tintin survives assassination attempts, evades secret police, and uncovers shocking conspiracies, and while his debut adventure lacks the sophistication of later installments, it captures the essence of Tintin, a brave, quick-thinking journalist dedicated to uncovering the truth. Over the years, he has become one of the most beloved characters in international comics. His globe-trotting adventures, rich with humor, suspense, and cultural exploration, influenced countless creators and resonated with readers worldwide. The art and storytelling style has certainly changed over the years, but the core of the character remains the same. And now he's entered the public domain, so you too can take the character for a spin. Will you reimagine him as an investigative journalist navigating the modern world of cybercrime and political intrigue? Highlight contemporary hot-button issues? Give the series a new artistic flair? The choices are yours. Number 4. The Maltese Falcon by Dashiell Hammett. The Maltese Falcon is a landmark in detective fiction. The novel introduced Sam Spade, a hard-boiled private investigator in San Francisco who becomes entangled in a web of deceit, greed, and murder. Its intricate plot, morally ambiguous characters, and sharp dialogue set the standard for the noir genre. The story begins when Spade and his partner Miles Archer are hired by a woman calling herself Miss Wonderly to track down a man named Floyd Thursby. When Archer is murdered that same night, Spade becomes embroiled in a complex case involving the mysterious client, a priceless artifact known as the Maltese Falcon, and of course a host of unscrupulous characters. The book itself wasn't the biggest hit commercially, but the movie adaptation starring Humphrey Bogart renewed attention to the work, cementing its place in history. Celebrated for the character of Sam Spade as the quintessential hard-boiled gumshoe, it's a tense and unpredictable story full of edgy, atmospheric prose, which perfectly captured the gritty, shadowy world of crime and betrayal the era was known for. To this day, the story continues to resonate, making it a cornerstone of American crime literature that can now be adapted freely. Turn it into a cyberpunk comic book, a slapstick musical, a Lizzie Bennett Diaries-style video blog. The possibilities, again, are endless. Number 5. Blackmail. Maybe you're looking for a movie to adapt. Why not make your own version of one of the early works of the legendary director Alfred Hitchcock? 1929 marked the year that he made the switch to talkies in his first sound picture, Blackmail, which tells the story of Alice White, a young woman who kills a man in self-defense after he attempts to assault her. She becomes ensnared in a blackmail plot that tests her morality and courage. It's a pretty simple story, but Hitchcock's direction created a tense, layered narrative that explored themes of justice and guilt. Being almost 100 years old now, the movie is admittedly a bit rough around the edges, technically speaking. Originally planned as a silent film that added sound right in the middle of production, it can be a bit of a slog to watch if you're not into that sort of thing. While the plot was bold for the time, it can definitely feel a little simple by today's standards, but the good news is, now you can bring the story into the modern era. What does this plot look like in the digital age? What if you told it as an episodic series, or tried to remake it on a shoestring budget? If you're an aspiring filmmaker, you don't have to wait around for a totally original idea to start honing your craft. Use this as a template and make your own iteration. If it was good enough for one of the legends, I'm pretty sure it's good enough for you. So in the spirit of Hitchcock, why not take a stab at it? With all these different classics, whether you're a writer, an artist, or filmmaker, these stories are ripe for reinvention. Because Public Domain Day isn't just a time to celebrate the past, it's an invitation to help shape the future. I've taken several public domain characters and told my own stories. I've written original books based off characters like the Spider Queen and Brain Boy, which, by the way, are available at fine online bookstores. I'm wrapping up start production on 2 animated movies, both based on forgotten Golden Age superheroes, Atlas, the Man of Might, and the sensational Catman. Every new year brings new toys for our creative sandbox, so this year, what will you create? Want to give your ideas an online home? Check out this video's sponsor, Squarespace. They can help you put together a beautifully designed website in no time thanks to their all-new design intelligence, giving you access to easy-to-use tools so you can build a site that feels uniquely you, no coding required. Whether you're showcasing your art, story, or business, your vision will shine. Like if you want to start your own podcast, Squarespace has you covered with audio blocks. Plus, you can sell stuff from courses and videos to music or memberships. You can get started today by going to squarespace.com and starting your free trial. If you like the experience, then when you're ready to launch your site in full, you can head over to squarespace.com/Austin McConnell and save 10% on your first purchase of a website or domain.